Hey guys, how are you doing? Are you feeling good? I hope so. How can you understand the probability in just 10 points? Let's get started. Okay, when I ask you what is the meaning of the probability, what are you gonna say? It's a measure, so the measure of what? The area. Nope. The volume. Wrong. The length. No. So it's the measure of the likelihood. Okay, likelihood of what? That an event will occur. Don't forget. So what is the main word in this definition? Yes, great, the likelihood. For example, if I have here two people, the first one is very happy and he's saying that my probability of passing the exam is high, and he's very happy. And the other one is saying what? My probability of passing the exam is low. So here low and here is high. So means what? Yes, great. This person is very likely to pass the exam. And this one is not likely to pass the exam, unfortunately. Okay? This is the meaning. Now let's start the first point of the 10 points. The first one, you have to know the formula of probability. So the probability of any successful event, any successful event, it's going to be what? It's going to be a fraction. Okay, I'm going to write here fraction bar. It's going to be the number of successful outcomes over the total number of the possible outcomes. Okay, for example, if I have a dice, and you know that the dice has what? 6 faces from 1 to 6. So we have here 6 faces from 1 to 6. And you have the probability of appearing 2. It's going to be what? 2 means number 2 face, which has just 2 dots at the upper face. It's going to be what? Yes, just one face of 6 faces. This is the probability of appearing 2. It's not allowed. A lot of students, it's a common mistake to write 2 over 6 because you have here 2. No, I'm asking you for just one face, which is 2. So this is going to be wrong. So when I ask you the probability of appearing 3, you have to write 1 over 6 too. Okay? So probability of appearing even number is going to be what? On the dice. So you have to write how many even number from 1 to 6? 2, 4, and 6. So you're going to write how many values we have, how many faces? Yes, 3 answers or 3 outcomes or 3 successful outcomes out of the possible outcomes means all of them. So over 6, which is finally 1 over 2. Okay, the second point. You have to know the probability of certainty. So the probability of certainty means the probability of all the answers together. It has to be what? For example, for the dice, so the probability of appearing 1 to 6 is going to be what? Yes, it's going to be 6 over 6, which is 1. So probability of appearing, or the probability of getting baby girl or baby boy is going to be what? So boy or girl is going to be 2 out of 2, because the possible outcomes is 2, and I gave you just 2 choices, so it's going to be 2 out of 2, which is 1. So the probability of certainty is going to be 1. And the second thing in the same point, which is probability of impossibility. So the probability of impossibility is going to be what? 0. For example, when I ask you what is the probability on the dice, which is 0, you don't have that face. You don't have a blank face on the dice. So it's going to be what? 0 over 6. Or when I ask you to write the probability of appearing 10, it's going to be what? You don't have face has 10 dots on the dice, so it's going to be 0 over 6, which is finally 0. Okay, don't forget. Point 3. The probability of any event, for example, event B or A, it has to be from 1 to 0. This for certainty, and this for impossible, and between them, of course, means maybe it's going to be 0.5, 0.2, 0.1, 1 over 3, 4 over 5. Okay, all of these are probability. So we don't have any probability less than 0, like negative 0.5, negative 1. No, it's going to be wrong. We don't have any number bigger than 1, like 1.3. Wrong. We don't have 2. We don't have 5. So the maximum probability is going to be 1, and the smallest one is going to be what? 0. Point number 4. The probability of appearing, not appearing A. For example, when I ask you the probability of appearing, of not appearing 3 on the dice. I'm talking about here the dice. What's going to be? It's going to be all the event, which is 1, all of the answers together, the probability of all the outcomes together, minus the probability of this one. So not means minus. So the probability of all of them means 1, minus the probability of 3, which is 1 over 6, because we have 3 is one face out of the 6 faces, so it's going to be 1 minus 1 over 6, which is what? Yes, great, is going to be 5 over 6. Point number 5. When we talk about this word, probability of appearing 3 or 5 on the dice. I'm talking about here dice. What are we going to write? Yes, great. You're going to say 3 or 5. It's up to you to get the answer here or here. So you have 2 answers out of 6 answers. So if I have this word which is or, what you're going to do means and. Okay, means add the answers together. So this is going to be 1 out of 6. This is going to be 1 out of 6. So when we add them, and means plus, so it's going to be 2 over 6 finally. If you want to simplify it, it's going to be better to write 1 over 3. Point number 6. When I ask you to find the probability of an area, what are you going to do in this case? For example, you have your dot board and you have a dot here, and I asked you to hit this area. What is the probability of hitting this area? Firstly, you need to find the area of the dot board, because it's going to be the total, the entire shape. So there's the total to put it down here. So the area of the dot board, and here the area of the red circle. Okay, for example, if I have the red circle, its radius is 7 centimeter, and the radius of the whole one is 10 centimeter. What are you going to do? You're going to write the area of the red equals 7 power 2 times pi to get about 154 centimeters squared, and the area of the dot board equals 10 power 2 times pi equals 314 centimeter. So it's going to be 154 over 314. This is going to be the answer. If you want to put it in the simplest form, that's okay. Okay, point number 7. You know that if I ask you to tell me if A over B equals C, so A equals what? Great, it's going to be BC by putting this over there by multiplying because it's division. Or B equals, yes, great, it's going to be A over C. The same thing, or it's better to use the scientific pyramid or triangle, which is A here at the top, and we have here B and C. When I ask you to find C, you're going to divide A by B. When I ask you to find C, to find B, you're going to divide A by C. When I ask you to find A, you're going to multiply B by C. Okay, the same thing if I have here the probability of any event. For example, A equals number of event A over the total number. So I'm going to put it in the same triangle. I'm going to put at the top this one, number of event, okay, number of event, and here probability of A, and here the total. Now what we're going to do, we're going to use it. For example, if I have here these squares, 16 squares, and I asked you to find the number of gray squares, if the probability of gray squares, for example, I shade here a specific number of squares, and I didn't tell you how many squares you have, okay? And I didn't tell you. So, and I said that the probability of shading some squares, so squares here, or black squares, the probability is 3 over 4, and the total number of squares, all of them together, is 16. Can you find the number of black squares equals what? Yes, I'm going to use this one. So I give you the probability here, and I give you the total number, which is here. Can you find the number of black or number of event which you have? Yes, here. Yeah, just multiply these together. Multiply them together. Okay, again, you're going to multiply this by this because you want to find the number of what? The event or the outcomes. So what we're going to do, we're going to multiply 3 quarter by 16 equals 12. 12 black squares. Okay, point number 8. When I ask you to draw the probability tree, if I give you a coin, and this coin has two faces, of course, its head and tail. So when I asked you to toss the coin twice, toss it twice, what are you going to do? How can you draw the tree in that case? Yes, great. The first time, maybe it's going to be head or tail. And the second time, maybe if it was head at the first time, the second time maybe it's going to be head too, or tail. Or it was tail firstly, so the second time is going to be head or tail. Again, So this is the second time. Let me clarify this point. So the first time it was head, and maybe the second time is going to be head too. Or the first time was head and the second time is going to be tail. Or the first step was tail and the second was head. Or the first one was tail and the second one was tail too. So again, we have 4 answers. Maybe in this path, or this path, or this path, or this path. According to the first was what? So the second is going to be what? If you're going to write it like this, only, so you ignored what? That if it's tail, when the first time was head, and here you ignored if it was head and the first time was tail. So you have to draw it like this one. Okay, and number 9, 2 coins are tossed, one after the other. Find the probability that A, both coins show heads. Letter B, the first shows a tail and the second a head. So what we're going to do, firstly, you're going to draw here a coin if you want. It's not important. Just to remind you something, here, tail or head. And the probability of appearing tail is going to be what? Of course, it's going to be half, because tail is one thing, or what, one outcome out of 2 outcomes. So 1 over 2. And the probability of appearing head is going to be 1 over 2. Okay, if you want to draw the 2 coins, or tossing the 2 coins together, so the first coin, maybe it's going to be head. And the probability of head is going to be what? We said half. And the tail is going to be half too. Okay? And the second time, or the second coin, is going to be what? Maybe it's going to be head when the first was head. So probability of appearing head was half if the first was head. Or it's going to be tail, which is half, if the first was head too. Or it's going to be head when the first was tail, or it's going to be tail when the first was tail. Now look at this. He said here in letter A, both coins show heads. So here we have head, the first coin, and the second coin is what? Head. So what we're going to do in this case, to combine probabilities, you have to add them. So both coins, letter A here, show heads equals 1 over 2 times 1 over 2, because the probability is going to be so small, smaller than half, because you have here a condition. We have, the condition is, the first is it has to be head, and the second it has to be head too. So we're going to multiply them. You're going to find that the answer is going to be quarter, only quarter. So small. The probability in this case is going to be smaller than half, because we have 2 conditions here, or there's a condition will give us something smaller than the first one, or just one thing. Okay, letter B. The first shows a tail, so let me color it in different thing. Okay, the first, it has to be tail. Yes, we have here with what? Yeah, the second has to be head. Yeah, this and this only. So we're gonna take this and this, tail and head. So letter B, it's gonna be this half and this half too. So half times half equals quarter. Don't forget that we have here a path, here another path, here we have path, we have another path. So we have 4 paths. Okay, don't forget. Okay, point number 10, combining probabilities. The first of 2 parcels contains 3 French books and 2 German books. The second parcel contains 1 French book and 3 German books. 2 books are taken at random, 1 from each parcel. What is the probability that 1 book is French and 1 is German? and he didn't mention here which one is first. We're gonna draw the probability tree. Okay, now we're gonna draw it. The first parcel, of course, is gonna be 2 branches like that. So this first, maybe it's gonna be what he said. Yeah, the first is 3. He gives us a number. 3 out of what? We have in the first parcel, how many books? Yeah, 5 books. 3 and 2. So if it was French, so we're going to write what? 3 out of the total? Yes, 5. Or German, which is 2 out of 5. Okay, now the second parcel. Let me change the color. Okay, so the second, here we're going to put 2 branches here and 2 branches here. The same thing here, we're going to put it up and down. So he said 1 French, so French, I'm going to write here. It was 1 out of what? Count all of them. 1 and 3. It's going to be 4. So quota. And the German, how many German books? Yeah, 3 out of what? Out of 4, because the sum or the total is 4. The same thing here. French, 1 over 4. German, it's 3 over 4. Now we got it. So what is the probability that one book is French and the other is German? So what we're going to do? So French here and German. Oh, look at this, German here and French here. So the order is not important. So we don't have here any order because he didn't mention that. So what we're going to do? We're going to combine these together and these together. Then we're going to add the answers. Again, how can you find the answer? So the probability here is going to be what? Equals. So this times this. Like the previous question. 3 over 5 times 3 over 4. Plus, multiply these. French, German and French. So it's going to be 2 over 5 plus 1 over 4. It's going to be what? Yes, great. It's going to be here 9 over 20. The first two is going to be 9 over 20. And here it's going to be what? 2 over 20. Finally, the answer is going to be 11 over 20. Thank you for watching.